by way of introduction, I want to point out something which I think is really, really interesting. I emailed Sheri and asked her if she would tell me what a typical day was like for her at her school. And this is what she said. You have 15 self-contained students and 2 assistants because of budget cuts. Last year she only had 10 students and 3 assistants. This year she has 15 and 2. You try to do some inclusion with each child in a mainstream class. Their classifications vary from autism, Down syndrome, multiple disabled, intellectually disabled, learning disabled. 2 with ESL in addition to their disability and a hearing and language impaired. You have 2 first graders, 2 second graders, 4 third graders, 6 fourth graders, and 1 fifth grader. And their abilities range from learning the alphabet to reading on a 2nd grade level and doing times tables. Your greatest challenge is meeting the diverse needs of every child and keeping them all engaged with limited help. So I have asked Sheri to come in. Sheri's going to share with you some of the things she does with technology that helps her with some of these things. I will introduce Sheri to you. This is Sheri Madsen. She is a special education teacher at Reese Elementary School. She helps me a great deal. I talk to her a lot about the cases and the things that you guys study because I'm trying to root the information you get in an authentic setting. And she provides me with lots of scenarios that are very authentic. And so I very appreciate her consulting with me and helping me with the class. So I will turn the class over to her.
She did a good introduction of my class now. Just a little bit more. I grew up in Murray and I went to Snow College, and then I went on a mission to Alabama, and then I went to Utah State, and then I taught in Davis District for 7 years. And in Davis District, they do kindergarten through 6th grade. And in Nebo, they kind of divide it younger, middle, older in the elementary. And I student taught in Granite, and it seems like they do the same in earlier or middle or older. And then I was an assistant while I was going through the special ed program. I was a paraeducator in Logan School District for a year in an elementary, and they kind of did kindergarten through 6 at that time. So I taught in Davis District for 7 years, and then I've taught in Nebo for 5 years. And probably a lot of the technology that seems new and exciting to me is old hat to you guys, but it's still pretty new in schools, and a lot of teachers are just starting to use these things because there's not a lot of money to buy things like projectors and whiteboard technology and stuff like that. So mostly I'm just going to show you some of the things that I do in my class. I don't know any other teacher that teaches it this way, but for me, technology is the easiest way to get the kids engaged, and also to just plan for all their different needs without taking 20 hours a day, which some teachers seem to. So she talked about my class and what they could kind of do. They're also learning to tell time. Some of them are just learning to tell time to the hour, and some are up to the minute, and between just saying that's a quarter and counting change up to $1. They're big jumps in skills in between. Cheryl said to talk about technology, content, and pedagogy. And to me, the content is always from the IEP. So the individual education plan, you guys know an IEP. And so if there's a goal saying a student will learn how to tell a quarter, a dime, a penny, and a nickel apart, and what their values will be, that would be their content. The pedagogy would be the way I'd go about teaching that content to them. And you could use a whole bunch of different ways to teach the same thing, which is kind of what I try to do with some of the technology. And the technology is kind of bringing those things together. So hopefully that made sense. But she wasn't here to see if she agreed with what I said. A lot of the things that work with kids with disabilities that I found are a lot of repetition. I think a regular person has to learn something 7 times to have it learned. And I can't remember how many times they said people with disabilities need it, but it's many, many, many times the 7. So they need a lot of repetition. They love music, they love videos, they love pictures, they love themselves. They're a little narcissistic. Anything with the picture of themselves or their family or their friends or anything that they like. Like I have one kid that likes dinosaurs a lot. So if you put a dinosaur on his math page, then that's a cool math page for him. So stuff like that works. I don't know why this doesn't, oh, because I didn't turn it on. So in your class with 15 kids, you have pretty much 15 different lesson plans every day for each different thing on their content or their IEP, and you got to figure out how to make that work. You need to have a class structure and schedule so that they can have a good routine, and that helps to manage their behaviors and to just keep them going. And then you have to have lessons and then guided practice and review, and then you have to have independent practice. So there's a lot to think about within a given day. And so what I do with my class is they come in, and some of them, it's a Title I school, and a lot of them are on low income, so they get breakfast. So some of them go down to breakfast, and the other ones stay and read a book for a minute and listen to the announcements. And then we do an opening. And during opening, I try to have my assistants pull out each student and read with them. So that's one way I get all of their reading done. Individually, every single day, they have a chance to read. And then during that opening is when I do a lot of my multimedia stuff. And I'll show you some more of that. Then we have recess, and then we have work groups. And some special ed classes, they do centers, and probably a lot of the people, I didn't go to BYU, so it just depends on where you go and your practicums or your student teaching, what you kind of like. But I don't tend to do centers. What I do is I take all their IEP goals. If I'm going to take data on those goals, I keep them in a data book. If they have math or a spelling or a reading worksheet, I make them daily packets. So then I put it in their data sheet. And so each day they pull out their data book, they pull out a work packet and they work on it, and we help them where they need help with. And then if we have like flashcards or other data things that we need to put our mark on, then we do it at that time. I like doing it this way because if you have one person in charge of math and they all rotate in and out of math, and one person in charge of reading and they all rotate in and out of that, and one person in charge of spelling, then it's hard for me as a teacher to see exactly what they're all doing. And I have to, when I do progress reports, say, hey, how's this kid doing in math? And I'm more of a control freak, so we rotate the group every day, so I have a different group of kids, but I'm doing all their different kind of work. So, and then I can kind of see what I need to address in my opening. If someone's having a hard time remembering how to tell time or count or different things, then I change it up. Then we have lunch, and after lunch, if they didn't finish their work, they finish it. Sometimes we'll watch a reading rainbow or a signing time or something. And then we have a special activity, which is usually an art or a science or a theme-based thing. And then in the afternoons also is when the kids go to PE and computers and all those mainstream kind of things, and when the speech comes and does a group. And then on Fridays we go on community outings. So that's kind of how I schedule it, and I'll show you some of the technologies I use within this day. So one thing I know I didn't put was during work groups, I have some of the kids on a reading program, so they'll take turns on a computer. So that makes the work group just a little bit smaller. And then we can switch them in and out. And so let me just see what I put next. I'm used to teaching little kids and not adults, so if I'm a little nervous, it's because I'm used to sunbeams and kids with disabilities. My favorite things to use in my classroom are digital cameras and Photoshop, PowerPoint and Camtasia, Publisher, online resources, computer